Well, I got myself a side job here. This is my buddy's Suzuki GS300L, and so far I'm trying to figure out what year this thing is. If you look on the code here, let me focus. If you look at the VIN here, it looks like it says 11 of 84. It's so faded. So I'm guessing this is an 84 or a late model 85. So that's one thing I'm looking at right now, just to find the exact year. But let's take a look at the bike here. As you can tell by its filthy condition, it hasn't been running in 7 or 8 years, as I was told. And the carburetor has been rebuilt, but that was like 7-8 years ago, and unfortunately this thing had gas in it, which was all stale. I already siphoned it, and the worst part is the valve was on, so I guarantee those carbs are definitely need to be cleaned out, which is going to suck, and hopefully I don't have to rebuild it. This bike has been repainted at one point, so I'm guessing from what I looked at, these fenders are supposed to be chrome along with the headlight, so I guarantee these has been repainted as well. It looks like it has newer plugs and newer wires. The tires have been replaced at one point, but this one's going to need an inner tube because I tried to fill it up and it leaks out instantly, so that's going to need a new inner tube. Back tire holds air, and it's got oil in it. It's clean. I do have the cover for this, and so what I'm going to do is, since it had gas in it, I'm going to take this tank out and drain it. Also going to take this carburetor off, and once I'm done with that, I'm going to hook up a battery, and I do have the same battery off of my four-wheeler over there, so I'm going to take the battery off of my four-wheeler and hook that up and make sure this thing turns over before I go any farther. Okay, so this battery that I'm using temporarily does not fit, so this is kind of ghetto rigged. I actually had to get another piece of red wire to able to reach to the solenoid, because it didn't reach because this battery does not fit in the tray. So this is just here for temporarily, just for testing everything. Once I get it going, I will get the right battery. But if I turn on the ignition, we got turning signals, lights, horn, and it does turn over and it does sound healthy. So now I'm going to take the plugs out. Okay, so the plugs are out, and not terrible. I've seen worse, but since I don't have any plugs like this, I'm going to be using that wire brush here and try to knock off all that black crap off. That looks a lot better. Okay, well, I got the plugs cleaned up, but I'm going to turn on the key, and when I turn on the key, we have spark, blue spark. But if you go over here, that side's not doing anything. So it's a good thing I'm checking this now. So I'm gonna have to look at the wires, and hopefully it's something not major. Alright, so I decided to get to the carburetor first. So I got it off, and once I pulled these drain plugs out, I can tell that they're pretty gummed up and it does smell bad, so I'm going to start tearing this apart. Well, carb's all apart, and actually these jets are not that bad. I thought they would be all gummed up from having gas in it over the years, but like he said, it's been cleaned or rebuilt before, so they still have varnish in it and it's all dirty, but what I'm going to do is something I've never done before is I'm going to take most of these parts and throw them in here and let it sit for a day or two. I did break the gaskets, they're all dry rotted, so I'm going to have to get some new ones. So it's been a couple days later and I got the carburetors out, and it's probably clean as it's going to get, and once I got these out, I took these in the house and rinsed it with water and with a brush, and then blew it out with my air gun. So now I got the little parts in the bucket, which is the bowls and the jets. I'm not going to do all the jets because these ones have rubber and plastic in it, and these ones are, you know, pretty good. And also I checked the floats and make sure there was no leakage or cracks, and those are still good, so I don't have to worry about jets, and or not jets, the floats, and the needles are pretty good. So yeah, I also did the same thing with these. Put these in the bucket and cleaned them up with a brush and rinsed them. Well, got the small parts all cleaned up. Turned out really nice. Same with all the jets. Well, I didn't get all the jets because these have rubber in it, and I really don't want to risk peeling them off and end up breaking them, because new jets are not cheap for this bike. So all I did was just clean them out as best as I can with some carb cleaner with a can, and the passageways are clear. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start putting this thing back together. Also, I'm going to be doing the same thing with the gas valve here. It was pretty gungy and also had varnish in it, so I cleaned it up as best as I can, along with this piece here. And also I'm going to be ordering new gaskets because these are all pretty much dry rotted. Same with this one. As you can see, a piece broke off as I try to peel the old one off. Well, now I'm to the gas tank. As you can see, it's pretty crappy inside. That's what you get for having old gas in it for 7 or 8 years. So I'm going to put my funnel in, and I'm going to be using this stuff. I'm going to be using some vinegar because I've done it before, and this actually does work. It's way safer than using acid or carb cleaner because that stuff's just going to eat the plastic or rubber. And I do have the gas valve back on because I couldn't figure out a way to seal up that hole, so putting the gas valve back on the tank is probably my only option. I had to get another gallon because 1 gallon wasn't enough for this big tank. So I'm going to fill this up and I'll come back. So it's been like a week or two later. I got most of the stuff back together. I got the gas tank back on and put the carburetor back on, and also the new fuel lines. I didn't film much because I really had to take my time and focus so I can do this right. I did clean out the tank, and that vinegar did a pretty good job getting all that varnish and crap out. But I found out why one side was only sparking. So I tried messing with the coils and it's still doing the same thing. I was like, what the heck's going on? And I realized, wait a minute. So this is the problem. This is the CDI box. And I unplugged it and both sides didn't spark at all. And I was like, that's got to be it, because judging by the fact that someone tried to open this up or cut it off and tried to solder it, and it didn't seem to work. And these things, for being an 85 Suzuki, are really rare to find and very expensive. So I guess I just got lucky, or God is on my side or whatever. And we happened to find one on eBay for like 250 bucks. And I put it on and both sides seems to spark. So it's basically ready for a test run. So once I do get it going, I'm not going to let it run too long because there are some testing we still got to do. We got to make sure if the regulator is still okay, because if that is bad, that can be the reason why the CDI went bad in the first place, and I really don't want to kill this one. So gas is dry in it, so I'm going to put some fresh gas in it and see if we can give it a go. Alright guys, we're going to give it a shot. I don't see any leaking on the carburetor, so that's good. Gas is on. And, yeah. It runs! Yeah! Awesome. Okay. Sounds pretty good. And it seems like it's running on both cylinders because both pipes are hot. So. Choke's off. Seems to run okay. I need to get a battery for it. This is pretty ghetto. Well, it's been sitting here idling for about 30 minutes, so I think we should be good, because my dad just checked the regulator and he said it seems fine, so I think we're good. I'm smoking a little bit under here because that's just oil burning off, but not a big deal. I'll clean that up with brake cleaner. all I got to do is, thing I have to do now is get the right battery, and then an inner tube for the front tire, and then the next video will be me doing the first test drive. Well, yeah, it runs. Sweet.